This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
We have the latest on China's 2 sessions, plus how China is helping to boost Africa's industrialization. Cote d'Ivoire reopens schools as South Africa also announces plans for resumption of learning in university. And concerns in the Democratic Republic of Congo as cases of domestic abuse rise due to coronavirus restrictions. This is CGT and welcome to Africa Live with me, Beatrice Marshall in Nairobi. We'll bring you the details on those stories in just a moment, but first, here's Uche Okoronko with the day's business headlines. Uche.
Thank you, Beatrice. And here's a look at what's coming up on Africa Live this. Kenya rejects the national carrier's plea for a $70 million bailout. And the COVID-19 pandemic drives event organizers in South Africa out of business. Of course, more on that coming up within the program. For now, it is back to you, Beatrice.
Uche, thank you. And let's begin in Beijing, where President Xi Jinping joined a session of the military delegation to the NPC on Monday. He said extraordinary measures were needed to overcome the impact of the epidemic, and he stressed the need to ensure that major tasks are completed and strategic capabilities are greatly improved. He said that China's armed forces must resolutely achieve the 2020 goal for national defense and military development. President Xi called for strengthened training and preparation for combat under epidemic conditions and an improved capacity to handle complex situations. And he emphasized the need for scientific and technological innovation. He also urged the armed forces to support local economic and social development, help eradicate extreme poverty, and assist local governments maintain social stability. Xi Jinping recognized the importance of the armed forces in epidemic prevention and control.
The struggle against the epidemic is a major task for our military. The People's Army, following the orders of the party, has played an important role and made outstanding contributions in this struggle. Practice has once again proved that the People's Army is always a heroic army that the party and the people can fully trust.
The Hong Kong Department of Justice says the Chinese central government is the only authority responsible for the country's national security. It says the draft decision of the national security law for Hong Kong shows that the National People's Congress will uphold Hong Kong residents' legal rights based on the law and the One China principle. The department also says based on the Chinese constitution and basic law, the central government has the right and responsibility to enact a national security law in the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. China has again firmly rejected foreign interference in Hong Kong affairs.
I want to make it clear that the Chinese government's determination to uphold the one country, two systems policy is unwavering. Its determination to safeguard national sovereignty, security and development is resolute. And the determination to oppose any interference by external forces in Hong Kong's affairs is firm.
The possible introduction of the security law in Hong Kong has drawn criticism from some Western politicians. But a British expert on geopolitical affairs says safeguarding national security is the legal right of every country.
Would any other country like, Britain, US or anybody else would allow, foreign powers to come in and sort of, play the locals and try to sort of, develop different plans to sort of, destabilize the economy? No, they would not. If they would not allow in their own backyard, why would they like kind of, certain legal loopholes to continue? I think the Western world also has to also understand and respect systems which other people have implemented in their country and who have delivered for that country.
African leaders have commended China for its efforts in dealing with poverty alleviation. Kenyan Cabinet Secretary Raphael Tuju, who is also the Secretary General of the ruling Jubilee Party, says that Kenya has a chance to emulate China and achieve what it has attained so far.
There is no precedent in history of the world that so many people have been lifted from poverty to relative affluence. I think there's a lot that we as Kenyans can learn from the Chinese experience. First of all, that it's possible to do it with the right leadership, with the right programs, with the right strategy, with the right attitude. We can also achieve it. So the first thing is that we're encouraged by the Chinese model that has done so well, that if we also try, we have a chance of succeeding. That's one. But two is for us to learn the systems that the Chinese people have put in terms of governance, addressing issues of wastage, corruption, and so forth, that has enabled it to achieve what China has achieved.
China is playing a key role in enhancing the manufacturing capacity of African countries. That has helped many nations on the continent record steady economic growth over the last decade. In Uganda, the Manufacturing Association says the increasing number of Chinese factories is helping industrialize the country. Chinese investors have established industrial parks in different parts of the country. CGTN's Isabel Nakiria has that report.
Paul Zhang came to Africa 2 decades ago. He lived in Tanzania for 2 years, but when he visited Uganda, he never looked back.
When I arrived to Entebbe, whoa, amazing. Good weather, beautiful lake, and another good thing, people very friendly. Then I decided, I do business here.
Paul runs a chain of businesses in Uganda. They range from real estate to the hospitality industry, but his passion is in manufacturing. He produces a wide range of products from steel to plywood, bulbs, apparel, electricity cables, and mattresses.
You know, people sleeping in the, use timber and grass build a house. Me also have question. Paulo Zhang, I asking myself, why not to make steel? In China, make everything. They have enough technology, enough equipment. Then I got another friends, come to Uganda, we to do business. Now you can see everywhere, people build a house. You know why? Price. Good quality, also good price. If too expensive, people no money to buy.
A 2019 report by a local research firm, Cote, shows that by the end of 2017, Chinese companies had invested over $4 billion in Uganda. The government offered them free land to set up industrial parks in the central and eastern part of the country, bordering Kenya. The Ugandan president also ordered that investors be given preferential treatment, including tax breaks.
I'm not interested in taxes of factory owners, direct taxes. I'm not interested. Direct taxes. That's why we give you tax holiday of 10 years. You just bring a factory, bring the machines, and start producing.
The same research report by Cote showed that by the end of 2017, 18,000 jobs had been created by Chinese companies for Ugandans. The Trade Ministry says the increase in domestic production from the Chinese factories is significantly cutting down Uganda's import bill, and the locally produced goods are increasing the country's export revenues. But there are general concerns from a section of the public that the government is favoring largely the foreign over local investors.
To accept that to learn, to grow, you have to open up your space. This happened in Singapore, it happened in Malaysia, it happened in Thailand. The Chinese came, and there was initially a pushback, but then they allowed them to settle in. And that's how the countries got a different work ethic. And they started doing things differently. Their manufacturing base transformed radically. So we can do it as a country.
But for now, Paul Zhang is thinking about his next big project, a car assembly plant that will build brand new vehicles for both the Ugandan and export markets. Isabel Nakiria, CGTN Kampala, Uganda.
South Sudan's government has credited China as the biggest contributor to the development of health infrastructure in the country. Beijing is in the final stages of the modernization of Juba's teaching hospital at the cost of $33 million. CGTN's Patrick Oyet tells us more.
The World Health Organization says South Sudan has one of the most underdeveloped health sectors in the world. A country of about 11 million people has only 15 poorly equipped hospitals. Juba is receiving assistance from China. Canada, through the World Health Organization, is also improving health infrastructure in South Sudan. China has undertaken the modernization of the country's biggest referral facility, the Juba Teaching Hospital, which is receiving $33 million. The project is in its final stages.
After this completion of phase 1, we are very excited to also see the kick-off of phase 2, such that we complete the policy of expanding and modernizing Juba Teaching Hospital as soon as possible, such that we are fully equipped with all necessary equipment for medicine in South Sudan.
The construction of the modern emergency and gynecology wards is now completed. China has also donated medical supplies, including anti-malarial drugs. Beijing is promising more support for South Sudan's health sector.
For the years, we have been building the capacity of the medical teams here. And so far, there's a large number of people already received the training in China. And we are supporting the building of the disease control system in South Sudan. We have sent an expert team to South Sudan a few months ago, and they gave very professional advice and suggestions to the South Sudanese government.
The Chinese medical team in South Sudan is providing on-the-job training for South Sudan's doctors and nurses. The Chinese medical team here has been conducting routine outreach programs across the country, but since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, that program is now suspended. Beijing has also donated medical supplies, including personal protective gear, face masks and testing kits to South Sudan to help deal with the coronavirus outbreak.
Our bilateral relations between the Republic of South Sudan and the People's Republic of China have grown to maturity. And not only on this, but on many aspects that we are seeing as a country. China has stood with us in our difficult time.
China says its medical personnel will continue to share information with their South Sudanese counterparts. Beijing says it is working to build a world-class laboratory for South Sudan. Patrick Oyet, CGTN, Juba, South Sudan.
And you're watching Africa Live. Still ahead on the program. Cote d'Ivoire reopens schools as South Africa also announces plans for resumption of learning in universities. And concerns in the Democratic Republic of Congo as cases of domestic abuse rise due to coronavirus restrictions.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines. You got to get out, go there, and you'll find them. In the bazaars of Casablanca, among the crowds in Cairo,
who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile, along the sands of the Sahara. No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
A team of Chinese medical experts has left Zimbabwe after they concluded their two-week mission to assist in the fight against the new coronavirus. The crew arrived in the country earlier this month and, under the guidance of the Chinese embassy in Zimbabwe, engaged with various departments. They shared anti-epidemic experience and provided training on prevention and control for local hospitals. The group has left Harare for Equatorial Guinea to begin a new assignment there. Zimbabwe says it has highly recognized the work achieved by joint collaboration with China.
We want to sincerely thank the People's Republic of China, through your ambassador, for this wonderful gesture, which will go a very long way in making sure that Zimbabwe will fight this COVID pandemic until this is completely out of this country, out of the global world.
African countries continue to ease restrictions imposed to curb the spread of the coronavirus. In Cote d'Ivoire, schools have officially reopened. On Monday, thousands of teachers and students were carried by buses back to their boarding schools outside Abidjan. Teachers and parents are, however, concerned that the reopening of schools could spread COVID-19 to areas that have so far been spared from the virus. CGTN's Tulisha Balala has that story.
Thousands of masked children have flocked back to schools in Cote d'Ivoire. The country is one of the first in West Africa to restart lessons after a 2-month hiatus due to the coronavirus pandemic. The reopening of schools means thousands of pupils and their teachers must be ferried back to boarding schools outside Abidjan. Many fear spreading the virus there.
We live worried because we don't even know if we have the coronavirus ourselves, and we don't know if the kids are infected over there either. It's really hard. We live very worried.
We came to check how it is going. Are the measures really followed? How our children are being taken care of? It's really important. That's why I'm here this morning.
Cote d'Ivoire has over 2,400 infections and is yet to contain the virus. But authorities are confident pupils can study together under health and safety guidelines.
We are aware of the reality. We are aware that we're facing a very grave situation. But we have the compelling duty to make sure that the children we're in charge of finish their studies. Because we have to live. But in order to live well, they need good learning.
In Abidjan's Adjame neighborhood, children not only have to wash their hands before entering school, the students have to exercise physical distancing in class, and one pupil has to sit in one desk with bottles of sanitizing gel within reach.
What changed is that today, normally children start at 7:30 a.m. and finish at 11:45 a.m. to have lunch. Today they will be in class until 1 p.m. continuously, and then they go home. For other classes, like the 5th grade, one group will come in the morning and the other in the afternoon.
Nearby countries are watching closely to see whether Cote d'Ivoire's decision to reopen schools could cause a spike in infections. Tulisha Balala, CGTN.
Meanwhile, South Africa's Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Innovation has announced plans to gradually reopen the country's universities. About a third of university students will be allowed to return to campuses when the country further eases restrictions on the 1st of June. CGTN's Yolisa Njamela has more.
The government's risk-adjusted strategy to deal with the coronavirus outbreak determines the severity of the lockdown here in South Africa, and it's based on alert levels. Level 5 is a hard lockdown, while Level 1 means the lockdown will be almost completely lifted. The reopening of institutions of higher learning will take place in stages, drawn directly from these various levels of the COVID-19 lockdown. Under Level 3, a maximum of 33% of the student population will be allowed to return to campuses and residence on condition that they can be safely accommodated and supported in line with the health and safety protocols as directed by the department.
When this level gets announced, we are going to allow a maximum of 33% of the student population to return to campuses, delivery sites and residences on condition that they can be safely accommodated and supported in line with the health and safety protocols as directed by the department.
Nzimande says his department is determined to try to save the 2020 academic year.
Each institution is committed to ensuring that all students are given a fair opportunity to complete the academic year 2020. We are working closely with all universities to ensure the implementation of this commitment. We are now reviewing these plans in order to urgently finalize the reprioritization of earmarked funding to support the implementation of teaching and learning plans by 1st June.
The ministry has also announced that it will ensure that learning institutions adhere to strict protocols, which include effective health screening and strict cleaning regime.
As I've indicated before, institutions have developed now their detailed institutional plans, as each institution is unique and we cannot follow a one-size-fits-all approach.
Higher learning students will also receive free data for 3 months starting from the 1st of June.
When level 1 is announced, it is expected that 100% of the student population will be back on campus. A 2-week period will be given for students to travel back to their respective campuses or institutions. That period will also help to ensure that campuses are prepared for reintegration. Yolisa Njabela for CGTN in Johannesburg, South Africa.
A group of volunteers in the Democratic Republic of Congo have turned their own mobile phones into informal hotlines to help families reach medical, legal or psychological care. Their target is mostly victims of abuse. CGTN's Chao Mugono has that report.
Around the world, policies aimed at slowing the spread of the novel coronavirus have created a time to reconnect with loved ones. But for some in the DRC, it means being locked up with their abusers.
It was the president of the NGO who came to my help. She really listened because I couldn't talk. I was there frustrated, scared that if I dared to open my mouth, it would not be good at all for me and my children. I was vomiting blood because of the blows and mistreatment. I didn't have enough to eat. He has money, but he doesn't leave me any. He doesn't look after my children, nor after me. He even refuses to pay school fees.
With only around 2,000 social workers for 84 million people, authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo are poorly equipped to help abuse survivors. This prompted Marie Lusaka to start Congo's first domestic abuse hotline. The calls have exploded as the coronavirus spreads across the country.
The measures taken during the COVID-19 crisis meant people had to stay confined. Dad is confined. There is unemployment. There is the stress and the information that circulates everywhere. Talks of deaths here and there. There is all of that. We noticed that we would receive more than 10 to 15 calls a day, whereas before we would only get 5 calls in a week.
Experts have also warned that children are at greater risk of experiencing and witnessing violence and exploitation.
We worry that today's victims will become tomorrow's perpetrators, which is why a holistic approach for the victim and the perpetrator is so important. There are situations in which you can see that the man acts as he does because he was himself a victim during his childhood. Psychological assistance could help them become a good man or a good woman.
Lusaka's next step is to build a proper call center or refuge to protect the victims from further abuse. Chamhono, CGTN.
The Wuhan National Biosafety Laboratory has been the subject of a conspiracy theory which claims the coronavirus that causes COVID-19 was leaked from the lab. The rumor has affected the scientists and researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The director of the Biosafety Lab responded to these allegations in an exclusive interview with CGTN's reporter Hu Chao.
您如何看待自疫情发生以来，围绕着我们武汉病毒所产生的一系列的阴谋论和谣言？咱们有什么样的一个回应？
武汉突发疫情，始料未及，在中央的部署下，和全国人民的支持下，武汉人民奋力抗击疫情，竭力的挽救生命。 要打赢这个疫情抗击的阻击战。但是就是在这个时候，美国参议员抛出了病毒泄露于实验室的这种谣言，病毒所的领导和职工被无情地转移到这种谣言的风暴眼当中，我们承受了极大的压力。同时，我们也要求我们的广大职工能够排除压力，调整心态，与病毒赛跑，全身心地投入到抗疫科研活动当中，按照战时的科技模式，整合力量，开展了抗病毒药物的筛选、动物模型的建立、疫苗的研制、抗血清的制备等方面的工作，也取得了很好的成绩。我们的试剂盒也获准进行生产和应用，抗病毒药物的筛选结果也纳入了诊疗方案当中。灭活疫苗已经批准进入到临床1期、2期试验。除此之外，我们利用我们自己的平台、资源和技术方面的优势，支持全国的科研团队开展科研活动，包括恢复期血浆的应用、临床病理解剖、消毒剂的验制、环境安全评估等方面的工作，有力地支持了全国的科技抗疫科研工作。其实我们武汉病毒研究所呢，一直是同国际学术界和国际社会和组织保持密切的合作，所以这个是一个开放、公开、透明的一个研究所。实验室更是这样。我非常自豪地说，我们这个实验室的物理设施和管理水平，同现在运行的欧洲、美国的实验室都是一个标准。同时，还有一支懂得生物安全和技术的科研、管理和支持人员队伍，所以实验室一直在合法、合规、安全运行。实验室运行这么多年来，也没有发生病原的泄漏和任何人员感染的现状。那我这里要说的，任何一次传染病的流行和爆发，都会引起民众的关注，因为对传染病的这种恐惧、无奈，加上对信息的不了解，所以很多民众就自然的把疫情和疫情区域所在的实验室联系起来。随着我们信息的了解的更多，对实验室的了解，这种谣言会慢慢的会散去。
我想知道，自疫情发生以来，所有的这些谣言、阴谋论，围绕着我们的科研人员，对他们产生了什么样的影响？他们这段时间又是一个什么样的状态？
我跟我们的很多科学家做过交流，在这一段时间，我完全能够理解他们的苦楚和他们的难处。但是，我们所有的科技人员，尽管受了委屈和压力，还是一如既往的与病毒赛跑，还是想尽量的去提供更多的技术和方法，更多的知识，让我们了解到病毒，让我们真正的为抗击病毒做出我们的贡献。我们有人说过，我们是武汉人，我们看到武汉人民受苦，武汉人民经受这种疫情的打击，所以无论受了多大的委屈和压力，同我们的武汉人民和这些病人所受到的委屈、受到的伤害比较起来，要小得多。我们没有理由不认真地做好我们的科研工作。
那么，我们武汉病毒研究所同美国科学家的合作又是怎么样的呢？
其实长期以来我们在病毒学的研究领域同美国的同行保持密切的合作关系，也建立了很多的合作项目，包括施仁义老师开展蝙蝠的研究，也参与了美国的一些合作项目当中。其实跟着美国的这些合作的项目，实际上让我们对病毒有更多的一些了解，同时也让美国的同行能够了解我们中国的科技进展，来为下一步整个传染病甚至相关的病毒学研究的发展能够提供一些好的一些基础。那么我们在生物安全这一块和传染病的防治策略这一块，一直同美国的科技界保持很好的一些联系，特别是我们跟德州大学医学部，我们建立了良好的一些关系。盖弗森国家实验室主任他也到我们实验室来过，我们就实验室的管理、运行、人员培训，是吧？信息共享有很多理念是十分相同的，所以他也愿意来为我们的实验室的人员培训工作和一些科学研究工作提供一些帮助。我们也希望 通过这种途径，不断地去提升我们的科技支撑能力和人员的一些水平。那么正是因为这种合作，才使我们这个研究所能够在传染病这个领域获得国际的认可。我现在觉得我们需要去加大我们的国际合作途径，加大我们的国际合作，来个采取更加有效的方式，提供更好的科研条件，来吸引全球的科学家来我们实验室工作，让这个实验室真正成为一个国际合作的交流平台。
Well, let's now go to Uche Okoronkwo for a look at the day's business news. Uche.
Thanks, Beatrice. And coming up on Africa Live Biz. Kenya rejects the national carrier's plea for a $70 million bailout. And the COVID-19 pandemic drives event organizers in South Africa out of business.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Well, let's start off here in Kenya. The government has refused to offer a commitment to its national carrier's request for a $65 million emergency bailout. Now, Kenya Airways has grounded its fleet of planes since the East African economy suspended international flights on March 22nd due to COVID-19. This, in turn, has added to its financial troubles, which existed even before the pandemic hit the industry. The government also says its key focus at the moment is nationalizing the carrier. Of course, Kenya wants to emulate countries such as Ethiopia, which run air transport assets from airports to fueling operations under a single company, using funds from the more profitable parts to support others. And elsewhere, South Africa has built a reputation for hosting large-scale events and conferences, attracting thousands and drawing in millions of dollars. But this industry has shut down in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. From Johannesburg, here's CGTN Sumitra Naidu exploring how professionals in the events industry are now coping with this global health crisis.
It's been almost 3 months since all exhibitions, conferences, concerts and other events were cancelled in South Africa, a massive blow to the economy. In 2015, the events industry contributed close to $5 billion to the economy and created over 151,000 jobs.
2020 was meant to be a really big year in our portfolio of shows, in our calendar. We had in excess of 10 events planned, including 1 or 2 cross-border events in Africa. And unfortunately, COVID-19 has brought pretty much not just our business and our events, but the whole industry to a standstill here in South Africa, but also globally.
The Mining Indaba, the largest mining industry gathering globally, is held in Cape Town each year. It went ahead in early February, just weeks before the lockdown took effect. But the Africa Travel Indaba, which is usually held in May, had to be cancelled. The event each year draws over 7,000 people.
The hospitality and tourism industry as a whole is deeply affected by the forecast revenues, as majority of the conferences are planned a minimum of 3 months in advance, to a large scale events up to 6 to 12 months in advance.
We obviously have not been able to trade due to the COVID pandemic. And so essentially we've had to close the business and let the team go simply because we cannot travel.
The Sandton Convention Centre, which was the main venue for the 10th BRICS Summit in 2018, is usually booked up for the entire year and normally a year in advance. It has been closed since mid-March.
Sadly, there are many companies who will not be able to survive if our exhibition industry is not allowed to reopen soon. And this is a devastating loss of skill and businesses that several industry sectors thrive on. We bring people into the country to support our local businesses. So our contribution to the GDP is massive.
Well-known DJ Black Coffee hosted the Music is King festival here in December last year. The Ticket Pro Dome is the largest indoor venue in South Africa with the capacity to hold close to 20,000 people. It might be a long time before another concert is held here again. Sumitra Naidu, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Well, summer has arrived and Britons can't wait to rush to the beach in southwest England's Weston-super-Mare. As the beaches fill up with day trippers, the town has changed its advertising slogan to "Don't Visit Weston." Here's John Beverly with the story.
Perfect holiday weather. Under normal circumstances, you couldn't ask for a better long weekend in the UK, but things are far from normal. As the beach here in Weston-super-Mare fills up with day trippers, the hospital closed its doors on Monday morning due to the high number of patients with coronavirus. Visitors are legally allowed to travel to this part of southwest England, and the vast majority here were respecting social distancing by staying 2 metres apart from those not in their household. But that gets harder as it gets busier. The town has changed its advertising slogan to "Don't Visit Weston," and the mayor has a clear message.
We can't keep you safe in Weston at the moment. There are too many people wanting to visit. What we're saying is stay safe, stay away. Come back later in the year when this pandemic is under control and you can have a good time. There are no facilities for you to use. It isn't going to be the best day out.
With good weather for the past week, it's been a similar picture around the UK. Brighton just one busy spot when the sun came out. Some of those on the front line against the virus are deeply concerned by what they are seeing.
This really scares me. I think this will lead to a fresh spike in the pandemic. People are very much at risk. People are still going to be admitted to hospital, very ill, young people as well. And of those, some people are going to die. And all of these deaths are preventable. If you don't catch the virus, you're not going to die with it.
England is now entering a critical time, with all eyes on infection rates. Lockdown measures were eased here almost 2 weeks ago, and because of the incubation period of coronavirus, we should see what impact that's had on the spread in the coming days. John Beaver, CGTN, Weston-super-Mare.
Meanwhile, many corporate executives have now joined the trend of live streaming e-commerce in order to boost sales, which of course have been stalled by the coronavirus pandemic. That includes Dong Mingzhu, who's a chairwoman of Gree Electric Appliances. Dong is also an NPC deputy, and she's been advocating innovation in her motions during the ongoing 2 sessions. Here's Zhu Yun with more.
She has served as the deputy of National People's Congress for nearly 2 decades, and over half her motions and suggestions have focused on encouraging innovation and enhancing the protection of intellectual property rights. Dong Mingzhu says the pandemic has reinforced her belief in the need to think outside the box and move fast enough when change demands it. And in this year's 2 sessions, she's calling for more government support to drive innovation.
For instance, we developed an air purifier specifically targeting the coronavirus and found there's no standard, either in China or abroad, for such kind of new product. So one of my suggestions this year is calling for the country to set up a green channel for such new technological standards, especially at critical times like the pandemic.
Dong says she has seen improvements on both innovation and the protection of intellectual property rights over the years, but she believes there's still much to be done, especially in punishing intellectual property theft. Or in her own words, the punitive measures should be harsh enough to deter people from violating the rules.
Some punishments are just administrative penalties, which the violators can hardly take seriously. It takes a lot, such as human resources and investment, to develop a new technology.
The coronavirus pandemic has transformed people's lifestyles, business models, as well as ways of thinking. And that is why Dong Mingzhu, who started her career as a salesperson in the company, now has a strong presence through her e-commerce live stream. And one of her best performances online netted more than 98 million US dollars or 700 million yuan worth of green electronic products sold in just a few hours. And this gave her the motivation to embrace this new trend while enhancing the foundation of manufacturing.
We have over 30,000 stores, employing nearly 1 million people. So we can't just abandon them and switch to online sales. And I believe our salespeople have the capability to open their minds and use the strength of e-commerce and to combine offline sales with online.
Dong Mingzhu told me the pandemic has made her realize the vital importance of human talents. And that is why her company is going to offer 5,000 jobs this year. And I think this is not only a sign for showing value to the talents, but more importantly, for showing support and optimism to the outlook of the company and also the country's economic development. So Yun, CGTN reporting from the Great Hall of the People, Beijing.
Now, COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on thousands of businesses, both large and small, across the globe. However, it's not all doom and gloom for some. CGTN's Nick Mudimba takes a look at how this global health crisis has become a boon for software developers as well as engineers.
As the day starts, it's business unusual for Jeremiah Dindi, a software engineer. A lot has changed nowadays as more and more people work from home. The demand for the services of software developers is on the rise, largely from clients seeking innovative solutions during these COVID-19 times.
We are proving to be resilient because of the nature of the situation right now. There's a need for contactless interactions, but people still need the services as usual. So there's an increased demand of the platforms to avail that, for people to be able to provide the services, to provide the products remotely or, contactless.
These workplace changes have seen many software developers working from home and handling their tasks remotely.
Some of them who actually embraced working from home and remote best practices earlier on are not finding it to be a totally new thing to work with. And this is the source of this resilience, right? And it's emerging because of how they crafted their workplaces to ensure that engineers, for instance, are able to work flexible hours and they're able to work remotely.
The number of information technology jobs advertised has increased as firms seek to bolster their online operations.
Today in technology, right, in the bucket of technology, a lot of new careers are going to emerge, right? It means if someone can create a website, if you choose to be a website designer, for instance, you can create the graphics of a website, you can take photos as a photographer. So demand is going to actually come up in the area of tech, even though some industries are already hurting and having layoffs, right? So from a website, you can see the people who are writing content writers are going to have a lot of opportunity for them to showcase about different products and services when it comes to writing copy.
As the demand for such services increases, there's also interest from those who want to try their hand in the tech industry, and Jeremiah has some expert advice for them.
They say in software development, they say Google is your friend. So I'm sure if you just Google, how to maybe come up with a website or development, you will see a bunch of results over there. But ones I've used personally is a Code Academy platform. And then there is also players like Oracle, who have been graceful enough during this period to give their platforms for a period of time, a limited period of time for you to be able to learn or to get the skill for free. Otherwise, these resources are normally paid for.
As the fight against COVID-19 continues and the world adjusts to the new normal, there's no doubt that many IT positions will still need to be filled, helping those in the sector secure their careers. For software developers, it's indeed a learning curve period. They're getting projects, yes, but the only difference is that they're working from home and they're doing it even better. Reporting for CGTN, my name is Nick Mudimba in Nairobi, Kenya.
Well, that is all for now on Africa Live Biz. But coming ahead on Global Business Africa, the New York Stock Exchange trading floor reopens after a 2-month closure due to the coronavirus pandemic. Of course, we'll bring you more on that top of the hour. For now, it is back to you, Beatrice.
Uche, thank you. And we still have more news for you here on the program. Don't go away. Here's what's coming up. Find out about a South African restaurant that is delivering free food to needy people affected by the coronavirus pandemic.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Cote, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Now, while many restaurants have had to shut their doors during these tough economic times, award-winning restaurant Massimo's Pizzeria in Hout Bay, near Cape Town, has once again started delivering food orders to its loyal customers. And the restaurant owners have also opened their hearts by delivering food for free to many needy people in poorer communities. Renee Delcam reports.
A few months ago, we told you the story of Massimo's Pizzeria, as it celebrated the international accolade of being named the best pizzeria in Africa. Now the COVID-19 outbreak has brought major change and uncertainty.
Already in March, before they closed South Africa, we were following Italy. I was following my family in Italy. And we knew that the lockdown was the only way to protect us. So we closed even a week before the South African government decided to close. March and April, they were really hard because, we couldn't trade at all. And we still have to pay the rent, we have to pay the staff. I have more than 20 staff.
But Massimo's has a long history of paying it forward by doing good deeds in underprivileged communities, trying to give more to those who have less.
In our restaurant, we have always tried to do a lot for the community, to support the charity. We had a different scheme, raising money or giving free pizzas. So one of the biggest problems when we had to close it was how can we still try to do something good?
Despite the lockdown, they continued cooking their authentic Italian pastas, soups and pizzas for a nearby fishing community, where the coronavirus crisis has worsened issues of poverty and hunger. The restaurant also set up an online fundraiser, which allows them to help another charity buy an extra ton of vegetables for other communities every week.
The initial idea was to raise 5,000-10,000 rands, and it's gone really mad. At the moment we got more than 200,000 rand in offers. And with that money, we have been able to buy every week enough food to cook. On average, we do 200 to 300 meals a week for the community that need it. And there's a lot of need now.
Workers at this local animal shelter also look forward to a daily delivery of Africa's best pizza or pasta, or whatever's on Massimo's special menu of the day. In future, Massimo's Pizzeria hopes to put less emphasis on fine dining, winning awards and doing great, but it hopes to keep serving the hungry and doing good. Renee Dalcom, CGTN, Cape Town, South Africa.
And let's now take a look at your sports news. Here's what's ahead. Kenya's team Cheruiyot to battle Norway